Here's what's coming up tonight on Inside City Hall. Continues to grip the city. Mayor Mamdani says the death toll of New Yorkers who have been found outside has climbed to 16.
Compassion is needed in this country right now.
That's Matthew Marrero. He's fighting to free his husband, Alan, who has been held in ICE detention for nearly 3 months. Tonight, we'll bring you the exclusive story that took our Kelly Mena down to Mississippi to capture an up-close look at the Trump administration's immigration crackdown. Queen City Council member Julie Wan is officially entering the race for Congress to succeed Representative Nydia Velasquez. She'll join me in studio to talk about her campaign.
Deed theft is one of the most pervasive and least discussed housing crises here in New York.
And I'll be joined by Brooklyn City Council member Chiose, who is pushing for stronger protections against deed theft. For the best news, debate, and analysis of New York politics, join us inside City Hall. Good evening. Welcome to Inside City Hall for Monday, February 2nd, 2026. I'm Errol Lewis. The frigid temperatures are claiming more lives of New Yorkers who are unable to escape the cold. A total of 16 people have been found dead outside as Mayor Mamdani fields questions about his administration's efforts to keep homeless people safe and clean up the streets from last week's storm. Our Dan Rivley joins me now with tonight's top story. Good evening, Dan.
Good evening, Errol. And according to the mayor, more than a dozen people died with cases of suspected hypothermia. This as the cold snap is set to continue, and it is much more difficult not only to keep homeless people safe from the cold, but also clean up the snow that has been hardening into ice. Mayor Mamdani says the effort still continues.
Today is our 11th consecutive day of below freezing weather.
Snow hardened into ice. The streetscape frozen. The number of people who have died while outdoors climbing. 16 people on Monday.
We are continuing to do everything in our power to get every New Yorker into a shelter where they will be warm.
According to the mayor, 13 of the 16 people who died may have succumbed to hypothermia. The other 3 suspected drug overdoses. Only 18 people removed from the street against their will, an action only to be used as a last resort, Mamdani has said. The mayor provided the update at a news conference on the rooftop of the David Dinkins Municipal Building, 26 stories high, about its refurbishment and plan to offer guided tours to the public. Reporters asked about the shortcomings of the mayor's plan to get vulnerable New Yorkers off the street. Mamdani promised better signs on warming buses. Some have had no signs or small ones that are easy to miss.
That signage is going to be rolling out today and tomorrow.
The frigid temps on Monday morning while 26 stories high, too much to bear for the elected officials who joined the mayor.
Where are these guys going? Hey, come on. Hey. Get out, okay. That's good. Get out of here. All right, okay.
None of the people found dead were living in an encampment, Mamdani said, and so the mayor is sticking with his policy of prohibiting the clearance of tents and makeshift shelters on the street, despite the cold.
We're going to look to emphasize the services that we can connect those New Yorkers with.
Meanwhile, alternate side parking will be suspended on Tuesday. It's been suspended since January 26th, probably for the best. There are New Yorkers here in Manhattan who had some warmth in their hearts for the Mamdani administration's efforts.
I think the effort is pretty good. The result, probably a B.
I think they've done an okay job. I think that they have cleared the spaces that we need to get to and from sidewalks, streets, and the garbage is just the garbage.
The garbage, mounds of it. Sanitation crews are catching up on the backlog of pickups.
I know that they are working with everything that they have to come up to speed.
And as for those guided tours at the David Dinkins Municipal Building, that'll be open to the public starting in June. Errol?
Yes, when it's nice and warm.
Exactly.
When there's all of this talk about encampments, the mayor is saying that while it's tragic that people have died, it's not because, well, it's not associated with encampment.
That's right. They're saying there is, of the people who died, they were not found in encampments. That is also, you can call it a term of art. There's no definition of an encampment, but we typically associate it with a tent or a large amount of someone's belongings buildings or kind of using the scaffolding to kind of shelter themselves from the weather. That has not been the case for the people who had died, but still he's being asked about that policy because he has such a high bar for when someone can be removed off the street. He says it is a last resort. It has only happened 18 times. You know, one of my questions I didn't get to ask is that, you know, if that's about 1 or 2 people a day, is that really all the total number of people who deserve to be moved inside for their own benefit? So that is an issue the mayor is dealing with. And just because we haven't had any deaths associated with people camping out doesn't mean it cannot happen the more this cold snap continues.
He also, the mayor made some appointments today as well, right?
Over the weekend, actually, 5 agencies and some pretty key ones. Leaders of Office of Administrative Trials and Hearings, right? If a taxi driver gets a bad ticket, they got to go up there. Also, Veteran Services and Youth and Community Development Agencies, 2 really big key ones. Stanley Richards to lead the Department of Correction has an interesting backstory. First commissioner to be formally incarcerated. He served prison time in the 1980s for robbery, worked as a deputy commissioner at the Department of Correction, and led the Fortune Society with works on rehabilitation of the formerly incarcerated. And also for the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, Dr. Alistair Martin served as an advisor to Kamala Harris, founded a nonprofit that worked to register voters within the hospital system.
Okay, very good. Great update, Dan. Last November, a Brooklyn couple was unexpectedly separated when one of them was detained by ICE agents after a routine immigration hearing. Now Matthew Marrero is still fighting to free his husband, even traveling to Mississippi, where he had hoped they would be reunited after being apart for nearly 3 months. Our Kelly Mena followed his journey and joins me now with this exclusive story. Good evening, Kelly.
Good evening, Errol. And Matthew and Alan Marrero thought that last week marked the end of their nightmare immigration journey. But an unexpected move by DHS has left their future together unclear.
I'm gonna come see you. Are you okay?
I'm okay.
Okay. Did you eat?
Not here.
It's a feeling of disappointment that hangs in the air as Matthew and Alan talk over the phone.
I love you so much. All right, hang in there. Bye, baby.
This has become their new reality as the two navigate Alan's immigration and customs enforcement detention. Alan has been in ICE custody since November following a routine green card interview. The couple, married in 2023, was taking the next steps in getting Alan his permanent residency after immigrating from the Cayman Islands. The Department of Homeland Security said Alan was a, quote, illegal alien that had not only overstayed his tourist visa, but also missed a hearing. Assistant Secretary for DHS, Tricia McLaughlin, in a statement on Monday told New York One, after he failed to show up for his immigration hearing, a judge issued him a final order of removal in 2022. He has received and will continue to receive full due process and currently remains in custody. Matthew and Alan see it differently. The couple claim Alan didn't know he had a hearing and it was an accident. From 26 Federal Plaza, Alan then went to Delaney Hall in New Jersey and then a slew of other facilities, including the Florida facility known as Alligator Alcatraz, before ending up in Mississippi. DHS did not respond to New York One's question on why Alan was transferred to multiple facilities. New York One traveled to Mississippi, where Alan was set to receive a bond hearing at the Adams County Correctional Facility in Natchez. Matthew was staying at a nearby hotel, waiting and hoping for the call that his husband would be released. An immigration judge on Tuesday granted that release on $6,000 bail. But then there was another development. Department of Homeland Security placed a stay on the decision, meaning Alan would continue to be held. DHS did not provide a reason for the stay in Alan's case. The move by DHS left Matthew to wait from his hotel room once again. But it has not stopped their determination to secure Alan's release. While they wait to hear from the court, part of their new legal plan is to get Alan to reapply for his green card.
We have a solid plan. I just, the timeline, I don't know what the timeline's going to be.
Top immigration officials claim they're going after the worst criminals and undocumented offenders.
This administration is absolutely focused on identifying removal aliens that pose a public safety threat and national security threats.
Alan's attorney and family say he has no criminal history. Congressman Dan Goldman, who represents the district covering 26 Federal Plaza, has been an outspoken critic of the immigration crackdown in the city.
This is becoming the civil rights era. This is authoritarianism. This is not democracy, and it is not just an attack on immigrants. It's an attack on all of us. It's an attack on our values, on our morals, on our basic tenets of democracy.
For now, Allen will continue to wait at the ICE facility in Natchez, Mississippi. Matthew remains in the sleepy Mississippi town, driving back and forth to visit his husband with the hopes of reuniting soon. He had this question for ICE officials.
Are you sure you know what you're doing? Are you going after the worst of the worst? Are you upholding the law and the Constitution? Are you having any form of compassion for people who are only here trying to achieve a life that they've dreamed of?
And as of this Monday night, Allen still remains in ICE custody. It's unclear when he'll be released. His lawyers are hoping that a new legal tactic will be able to get him out, Errol.
So where was he first incarcerated? If they're bouncing him all over the country, where did it start?
Right. So it started at 26 Federal Plaza that we're well aware of. Then he went over to New Jersey. Then he bounced around from there, going to places in Louisiana, Arizona, Florida, as I mentioned, and then now Mississippi. We have been trying to get answers from DHS and ICE about why they transfer individuals across facilities. Many people believe who are in these situations that's part of the tactic. It makes it harder for many of those that are detained to reach their lawyers, but also reach their loved ones if they need something or something is going wrong, and that much more difficult to bring him back to the state that they live in.
Right, and I mean, it seems like almost like a form of harassment. If he's married to an American citizen, he's not going anywhere, right? I mean, the husband's not going to just vanish and say, oh, well, I give up, just deport him or send him off to some other part of the country.
That's right, and that's part of the argument that his husband is making. He's already been married to him for more than a year. Why would he leave now when he's so much closer to being an American citizen? He has no opportunity of being a flight risk, and he clearly wants to be here, so why don't they let him go and seek that opportunity the legal way?
Okay, great reporting. Thanks, Kelly. We're going to take a short break now. When we come back, Kathy Wylde is leaving behind big shoes to fill after more than 2 decades as the CEO of the Partnership for New York City. Our Bernadette Hogan sat down with her for an exit interview, and we'll tell you more about her career in 2 minutes. Stay with us.
Every day tells a new story. At Mornings on One, we're dedicated to bringing you the stories that matter most to start your day. With in-depth coverage of the day's news.
I'm Pat Kernan. Here are the stories we're following.
And weather updates every 10 minutes.
Tomorrow, some morning sunshine possible. Clouds take over.
It's our responsibility to get you the information you need before you. Mornings on One. Weekdays starting at 6 on the Spectrum News app. Free for Spectrum and Xfinity customers.
When you're connected with Spectrum, you get 5G and fiber-powered internet combined for the fastest wireless speeds. So you can sweat for the right reasons. It's only the seamless connection you love at home, everywhere you go. It's only everything.
I'm Sandra, this is Jorge, and we were adopted in 2019. I remember when they first came to us, Michael was already a teenager. The whole cliche of they're so lucky to have you guys, and it's the other way around. They have changed our family for the better. They chose to love us. They didn't have to. They chose us. Family.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
And that's a look at some of what's in the papers this morning. With the sports section.
Today's story is about the latest chapter for a beloved local business.
It's a beautiful day with temperatures in the 60s, but showers are expected in the next hour.
In a city that's always on the go, it's important to stop to hear the stories that connect us.
The news that matters to New Yorkers. That's what brings us together. That's Mornings on One.
Weekdays starting at 6.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. Spending over 2 decades as an advocate for many of New York's business leaders, Catherine Wylde retired from her position as CEO of the influential Partnership for New York City last month. She's been a key advisor to mayors and governors alike, and most recently has served as a sounding board for Mayor Zohran Mamdani. Wylde's ascent to power can be traced back to humbler beginnings as a community organizer for a Brooklyn hospital. Our State House reporter Bernadette Hogan sat down with Wylde and joins me now with more. Good evening, Bernadette.
Good evening, Errol. And we're used to seeing Wylde standing next to the mayor or the governor, but interviewing her, she said she actually came from Wisconsin and made New York City and its politics her home and her own. Catherine Wylde retired after spending 44 years near the center of New York power, marked by a special lighting of the Empire State Building and a massive reception inside Rockefeller Center's Rainbow Room, full of the biggest movers and shakers in New York.
How do you get global leaders of business to care about your local issues, your local city? How do you do that? I think it's in their genes.
Before her retirement last month, Wylde was the CEO of the Partnership for New York City and a member of the group since 1982. But some might be surprised to hear how she got her start in politics.
I had fallen in love with the city during the summer of '66 when I was here. And I was offered a job at a broken-down hospital in Brooklyn, then Lutheran Medical Center, today revitalized and revamped as NYU Brooklyn.
Taking New York One back in time.
Really fell to the not-for-profit sector, community-based not-for-profit sector, universities, hospitals, where the hospital where I worked, to kind of take up the slack and deal with the urgency of the moment.
Pointing to that time as invaluable to her career. Also crediting her ascent to the vision of, and later her association with, notable New Yorkers, including a legendary billionaire.
David Rockefeller gave me the opportunity. It's your obligation to create a better society for all. And that was, I was just very lucky to go to work for people who had power and wealth and had those values.
Since then, she's been sought after by mayors and governors.
I am one person who never forgets those who helped me on my way up.
She has supported issues on both sides of the political aisle. Wylde was a key promoter of congestion pricing and universal child care, and has served as a bridge to the business class for Mayor Mamdani.
I'm hoping he's going to take advantage of the resources and the commitment of the business community to help solve these problems.
But warned about the perils of viewing the city's challenges through a narrow lens.
The Democratic Socialists that brought Mayor Mamdani so much of his political support tend to demonize the corporate sector. I think that's the biggest threat to the city right now. We need to be together. We need to be together in fighting the federal funding cuts, in fighting for immigration.
Asked how she explains her career start and where she ended up.
I never saw my work in community as different than what I do today. In other words, it was always trying to figure out how to find the resources needed to solve problems.
And Wylde said that she's still as busy as ever, Errol, but she is maybe regretting that she left her secretary and her driver that's been with her the past 20 years to the newly instituted CEO of the partnership, Steve Fulop, the former Democratic mayor of Jersey City.
Oh, plenty of regrets, but her work with Zohran Mamdani, it sounds like she's going to continue talking with him, even if she's not officially now running the partnership.
Correct, and one of those linkage points, I suppose, would be universal child care. She's been mainly talking to the governor's office and advocates there, but she will still be a phone call away for the mayor.
Okay, thanks, Bernadette. Before we head to a break, I've got a quick reminder that tomorrow is Election Day for some New Yorkers in parts of Manhattan and Queens. Early voting wrapped up yesterday for 3 special elections. More than 7,000 voters cast their ballots over the week of early voting. And these are different races. There's an open seat in State Assembly District 36 that was vacated by Mayor Mamdani. That district covers much of Astoria, Ditmars, Astoria Heights, and parts of Long Island City. The race is between Diana Moreno, Rana Abdelhamid, and Mary Jo Bida. There's also an open assembly seat on the east side of Manhattan. And in that race, Democrat Keith Powers is running against Republican Joseph Foley. And finally, State Senate District 47 is up for grabs. Democratic candidate Eric Bottcher is facing off against Republican Charlotte Friedman. We're going to take a short break now. When we come back, there's officially a third candidate in another race, the race to succeed Representative Nydia Velázquez in Congress. Queen City Council member Julie Wan will join me. Is entering the race. Stay with us.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
There's nothing quite like the feeling of going to the theater. Onstage celebrates that excitement every week by taking you behind the scenes with the latest news and in-depth interviews of the hottest shows on and off Broadway. So grab a seat, because this is a show you won't want to miss. Join us every Saturday and Sunday at 7:30 p.m. for Onstage.
Onstage is presented by your Tri-State Cadillac dealers. Discover which Cadillac is right for you and elevate your journey.
It's only a hike. It's only made possible by Spectrum Business connecting healthcare providers of all sizes. Like hospitals relying on the Spectrum Fiber broadband network with industry-leading reliability. Practices keeping patient data safe with advanced security. Pharmacies accessing records. It's tailored connectivity solutions built for life-changing moments. It's only a hike. It's only everything. Spectrum Business.
Mom was always organized, but she started forgetting to pay her bills on time.
And she'd buy the same gifts over and over.
Telling the girls about my Alzheimer's diagnosis was really hard. At first, we had our cries, but then we were like, okay, let's make a plan.
Early detection gave us time to adapt together.
It's so important for you to think about what you can do and making the most of what you have.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
From my time growing up in Queens watching New York One to my time reporting here, I've seen how quickly a story can change. At News All Day, we bring you the news as it's happening, from around the boroughs to local government to your neighborhood, because our city never stops moving.
Hi, I'm Shannon Ferry with the day's developing stories, but first,
stay up to date and informed with News All Day, weekdays from noon to 4.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. We're less than 5 months away from New York's primary elections for the House of Representatives. A number of seats are on the ballot, and one race we have been following closely here is Congressional District 7. It's currently held by Representative Nydia Velázquez, who is retiring this year and will not be running for re-election. We've told you about two of the candidates vying for the seat. That's Brooklyn Borough President Antonio Reynoso, as well as State Assembly Member Claire Valdez. But today, the race got a little bit more crowded. Queen City Councilwoman Julie Wan officially filed paperwork to enter the race and is seeking to represent this congressional district. The district includes all or part of Long Island City, Astoria, Sunnyside, Fort Greene, Greenpoint, and Williamsburg. She joins me now to talk more about the campaign. Welcome back to the program, and I guess congratulations.
Thank you so much, Errol.
What made you decide to run?
For me, it's very deeply personal. I came here when I was 8 years old, not knowing the language, watching my parents navigate the very complicated pathway to citizenship. I remember going through flashcards with my mom as she was getting ready to take the citizenship exam, where she was starting to sweat because she was scared that she would fail. I grew up being a translator for my whole entire family. And right now, within the last 4 years, I've represented the highest amount of migrant shelters in the city of New York, because as an immigrant, I would never turn anyone away. And nationally, we are seeing people get shot in the face for standing up for their neighbors against ICE. I want to abolish ICE and end family separation as a mother and an immigrant, and I want to make sure that we're fighting against Donald Trump.
In this particular district, Nydia Velázquez was the first Puerto Rican woman ever elected to Congress. The shape of the district has changed over the 3 decades that she's represented it. It's often thought as a Latino seat. What do you think about that?
Representation is incredibly important, and I have nothing but respect for Congressman Nydia Velázquez. As I have run in my current district, where people wanted, I first ran, they said, why don't you move to Chinatown or Flushing? Because you seem like a great candidate, but this is not a majority Asian district. I believe that representation goes beyond just our demographics. And as a majority immigrant district, I would be the only immigrant running for office. And I believe that we have more shared experiences navigating the very complex immigration system that we currently have that needs to be comprehensively reformed. And there are more similarities in our experiences in this country as immigrants than those that divide us racially.
A long time ago, you were an intern for a member of Congress who has now since retired.
Yes.
Tell us about that. What did you take from that experience?
Yeah, when I was a college student, I did an urban abroad in Washington, D.C. through the Maxwell Citizenship Program, and I was an intern for Gary Ackerman as he was on the verge of retirement, and then it became Grace Meng's seat.
Okay, fondly remembered, Gary Ackerman. I hope he's watching tonight. So if you are elected, what committee would you want to serve on and why?
I want to make sure that I'm on the Housing Committee as well as Space, Science, and Technology because of my tech background for over 10 years, working for the federal government as a contractor, helping them modernize civilian agencies, as well as for housing. Right now, within the last 4 years, I passed the largest housing neighborhood plan, as I was last on with you for 1LIC in New York City history, as well as understanding that we have to fix AMI. You get asked all the time, I get asked all the time about who is it affordable for? And the affordable median, the average median income in which we peg affordability for the city of New York is determined by Congress, and we know as New Yorkers that it is not affordable.
And so to the extent that you'd be coming in, Democrats might be in the majority. I think that's what some are anticipating. But even if they're not, what would that mean for you? I mean, this would be, you'd be part of, you know, a couple of hundred people who are fighting in these days against very long odds.
For our hopes for regaining the majority in the House, that is our first priority. But New York 7 is a guaranteed Democratic seat, so that's great. And what I've shown in the last 4 years is that I understand that we have to build coalitions across the aisle, no matter what. And we have to find common interests and commonalities for the greater good of our country. So as a council member, I had a letter that I sent to Senator Chuck Schumer for internet connectivity. And it was the first one in my tenure that all 51 council members signed on to say we must have connectivity for all to have broadband access. And that's actually why I ran for office, to make sure that my NYCHA neighbors had free internet and cable TV. And we accomplished that within 6 months of being elected through the Big Apple Connect program. And within the last 3 years, we've expanded that program to all publicly owned NYCHAs in the city of New York, so that if you're a NYCHA resident, you have free internet and cable TV. And we have 80% adoption across the city, which is one of the highest adopted public benefit that we know of.
Okay, very interesting. Let's talk politics. How do you get to be known, especially on the Brooklyn part of the district, that you have not represented up until now?
Just like campaigning for anybody, right? You saw with the biggest upset of the mayor of New York City now, from Zohran Mamdani, that you always start your campaign with your base in your district and you expand out. It's through it is through canvassing, door knocking, and making sure that you also have a strong digital presence, and also just retail politicking, and exactly what I'm doing now, earned media, making sure that we're in the news, that we're getting press coverage, and we're connecting with as many people as possible, because at the end of the day, my policy is a lifetime of care, making sure that the moment that you're born until the day that you retire, that our country has your back, which means that at every stage of life, that there's a safety net from the country to make sure that you feel cared for. Because you and I both know that at any point in our lives, we are just one illness away from like you're too young to work, if you're too sick to work, if you're too old to work, then what happens to you? How do you live on a $200 security benefit, Social Security benefit, or on SNAP benefits, which is just not enough, which is what I hear from my neighbors all the time of every age. And that's why if you look at our website, you'll see an expansion of what we want to see, like ending unpaid leave. Right now, the country has unpaid parental leave. Moms and dads should not have to choose between caring for their child that is new and also making a living so that they could feed their child. And we want to make sure that there's universal health care and making sure that we have actually free cost-free universal childcare, because it can't all be cost-restrictive, where people are just simply so tired that I hear from women all the time, Julie, I wish I could afford to have one more baby, but it's just not our reality anymore.
Okay, there's going to be a lot to talk about. Let me put in an early request to join us for a candidates debate, if we can get one together between now and June. Thanks so much. Good luck on the campaign trail, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much, Errol.
Okay, let's take a short break. Another city council member, Brooklyn's own Chi Osei, is calling on Governor Hochul to better protect homeowners who are experiencing deed theft. I'm going to talk about it more with him in studio in 2 minutes. Stay with us.
My time at New York One has shown me that in the city that never sleeps, the news never stops. So as the day winds down, turn to the rush hour.
Good afternoon, I'm Monica Bergman.
To catch up on the stories that matter across the 5 boroughs, with in-depth interviews from the city's newsmakers, plus the latest forecast. Catching you up with today, preparing you for tomorrow. Right here on the Rush Hour. Weekdays from 4 to 7 p.m.
It's only a slice. It's only made possible by Spectrum, connecting businesses of all sizes, like small businesses, instantly serving up orders on the Spectrum Fiber broadband network, and factories, seamlessly connecting to farmers in the field with tailored solutions that always deliver. It's only a slice. It's only everything. Get your business free fiber-powered internet forever. Call to find out how.
I'm Chris Jakimick. I served in the United States Air Force, and I deployed 3 times. So in 2017, I was serving as an Air Force First Sergeant. Our motto in that role is, my job is people, everyone is my business. But unfortunately in that year, I would lose my own brother, Lance Corporal Adam Jakimick, to suicide. The majority of veteran suicides are from guns. I store my weapons securely, not only for myself, but for my family. My service never stops.
At Spectrum Noticias, we recognize that our New York City community is vibrant and diverse.
Spectrum Noticias delivers balanced coverage of the stories that matter in our communities and across the country.
Our journalists are based in the neighborhoods we cover, ensuring you get in-depth reporting on what's happening in the places we call home.
At Spectrum Noticias, we're always on, always there for you.
Now available on your TV. Check your local listings. Also available on the Spectrum News app.
In Bed-Stuy, and Crown Heights, and Southeast Queens, and Harlem, these black homeowners are having their deeds to their homes stolen. It happens through fraud, through deception and solicitation. We are calling for Governor Hochul to enforce a temporary eviction moratorium on eviction proceedings for properties in New York City where there's a possibility of deed theft and fraud.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. That was City Council member Chi Osei rallying with advocates today and calling on Governor Hochul to take action that they say would help protect homeowners from deed theft. Now, deed theft is a scam where fraudsters take the title of a home without the homeowner's knowledge or approval. And it has become a major issue in our city as scammers target especially elderly homeowners who might not fully understand the documents that they are signing. City Council member Chi Osei joins me now to talk more about this. His district in Brooklyn, the 36th district, includes all or part of Bedford-Stuyvesant and Northern Crown Heights, neighborhoods that have seen rising complaints of deed theft. Welcome back to the program. Good to see you.
Thank you so much for having me back.
You called off a lot of different neighborhoods, so it's not just your district that you're talking about. What ties them together? What makes these neighborhoods especially vulnerable to this kind of crime?
Absolutely. So working with the People's Coalition to Stop Deed Theft,
theft. This is a coalition that has organized and worked with various different individuals and homeowners who have dealt with potential deed theft. What we're seeing is that there's a trend within Black communities, more specifically Black seniors. We're seeing a targeting of communities where folks may not know their rights, where folks are being harassed because of their age. There are solicitors who are knocking on their doors with stacks of paper saying that they're going to help them pay off their mortgage, but within that stack of paper, folks are selling off their deeds. Black displacement has been running rampant within New York City for some time now. A huge source of that problem stems from deed theft.
You did the press conference today in front of the governor's office in Manhattan. She didn't cause this, and I don't think of her as the natural person to turn to. Why did you do your press conference there?
Absolutely. Well, the governor is the head of the state. You know, there is a crisis happening within New York City where we're seeing Black homeowners lose their homes. Black and brown homeowners have their homes stolen. The governor has the power to implement a temporary stay on evictions or an eviction moratorium to keep these homeowners within their homes. There's precedents for doing this. There is legal tools within her toolbox to keep these homeowners within their homes until she makes action steps forward on preventing deed theft from happening. That includes a cease and desist zone across the city. That includes more funding for right to counsel so that these homeowners are provided lawyers. That includes more oversight over our court system to make sure that judges are being just when it comes to deed theft cases.
Yeah, at the rally earlier today, you said, or at least implied, that there are corrupt judges who are kind of getting in on this rather than doing their job properly and preventing deed theft.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So what I've heard from the coalition and what I've heard from various different people who have had their deeds stolen is that there's a lot of questions within our judicial process. The governor can implement some oversight and some overreach within our court system to make sure that there's training on the new laws that will prevent deed theft from happening, and making sure that the judges and the courts are not taking advantage of these homeowners.
There was a wave of this kind of activity, a variation on it in some ways, a generation ago, leading up to the foreclosure crisis, where there were predatory loans that were going out and there were a lot of different problems. Patterns would emerge. You'd find the same players doing the same things, backed by the same financial institutions. Are you finding that? Are there kind of organized rings that are engaged in this kind of activity?
Absolutely, which is why a huge part of this initiative, aside from what we're calling on the governor to do, is we need to fund more units within our district attorney's offices with specialized judges that will be able to take on these cases. Also, the Attorney General, I know, has been looking into some of these organized crime syndicates who are participating within deed theft. Hopefully, with this eviction moratorium and temporary stay on evictions, it gives people time so that folks can stay in their homes if they're dealing with potential deed theft or foreclosure fraud until those who are stealing their deeds are held to justice.
Yeah, I think in the court system, the chief administrative judge or even the chief judge, I think they'd really be quite interested in this, and they might be able to form some kind of a space where you can sort of process a lot of these. The mayor, Mayor Mamdani, made a campaign promise. I remember you were there to create an Office of Deed Theft Prevention. What would that do?
Absolutely. So I remember standing with the mayor where he made that commitment, said that he would pledge $10 million. A lot of the efforts that were listed out within that plan would be preventative to prevent this from happening to New Yorkers. A lot of this would be awareness campaigns, know your rights for seniors. I have not, seen this plan come into fruition just yet, but I want the mayor to know that I'm here to be a partner. I'm here to be a supporter of this office to prevent deed theft, and I know that he's committed to keeping New Yorkers within their homes.
Okay, yeah, they certainly need to push it forward. Now, you have unique credibility on all of these things, because this all sounds like a very tall order. You're talking about a lot of
Does it sound like a tall? It sounds like a tall order.
It sounds like yes, it's a big deal, because you're talking about different levels of government. You're talking about different offices and so forth who don't always cooperate. However, because you passed the fairness in apartment rental expenses and got those exploitative brokers' fees killed, you have some credibility here. Is it possible, where is the Real Estate Board of New York in all of this stuff? Is it possible that your former adversary might be your ally in this particular?
I have not talked to REBNY yet. Happy to have a discussion with them. I know that they're maybe a bit still sour about the FAIR Act, but if they're happy to be partners within this pursuit and ending displacement of anybody, including homeowners, then I'm happy to be a partner with them. But really looking forward to be a partner with the governor.
Yeah, you mentioned the district attorneys before. I mean, I've seen a couple of different variations on this. In some cases, it's just outright fraud. They're asking you to sign a paper, you know, the criminal, they're telling you that the paper is one thing, the paper does something completely different, and they've taken something of value from you. That is a crime.
Absolutely.
In some ways, it's not much more complicated than that, but you alluded to it before. The district attorneys, are they overwhelmed? Are there so many cases, or do they not have the expertise?
I don't think they have the resources to take some of these cases on. That's why we are advocating for there to be more resources specifically working on deed theft cases. Sometimes it's more complex than just you know, a stack of papers and the changing of a name, right? Especially when it goes through the court system and the judge thinks that the deed that is on that paper is of the deed thief. We need a further investigation in terms of what is happening there. And when there are some homeowners who don't have a lawyer or don't have legal representation or do not have some support from the district attorney's office, with this initiative, we will beef up the enforcement and the resources needed to bring them to justice.
Okay, in our last minute, let me ask you a politics question.
Sure.
You were thinking about running for Congress. You thought better of it. You were going to challenge Hakeem Jeffries. There's a narrative out there, I'm sure you've heard it, that socialists like yourself, democratic socialists, are challenging the establishment, many of whom happen to be Black and Latino, because that's who's running the establishment in a lot of ways. Is that real? Is there, you know, is that the kind of thing you talk about with some of your fellow political leaders, that, hey, we socialists have got to knock out some of these establishment people and maybe change the way politics in New York is done?
I don't think it pertains to race. I think we take a look at the districts where there are strong numbers for whoever the next mayor was elected and how many people voted for that last mayor. Sorry, the last mayor, not the next mayor. I don't think it pertains mainly to race. I think it pertains to who the elected official who's being challenged is, right? Where is their money coming from? Are they supportive of taxing the rich? Are they critical, you know, of the genocide in Israel? I think those are some standards that some of us in the Democratic Socialists of America take a look at before deciding to challenge the powers that be.
Okay, we will see you out on the campaign trail, and we want to hear more about deed theft prevention, a really important issue. Thanks so much for coming on to tell us about it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, let's take a short break now. When we come back, we'll talk about the Mamdani administration's snow cleanup response and much more with two top political consultants. Stay with us.
After 30 years of forecasting for New York, I've learned it takes a dedicated team to cover all the weather our city has to offer. As chief meteorologist at New York One, I'm honored to be able to help New Yorkers plan their day.
Morning, noon, or night, our team is here to bring you accurate forecasts you can count on, from severe weather updates to our Weather on the Ones. Watch the New York One weather experts with your Weather on the Ones on your TV and on the go with the Spectrum News app.
I moved from Dallas to Los Angeles all by myself. The order of things I wanted to set up was internet, water, then power. I needed to take a shower, but like I really did need the internet for work and like to watch my shows. That's like kind of a crazy thing to admit in front of a camera. Pretend I didn't say that. I got to Spectrum. I was so relieved that I was getting the best bang for my buck. It was a huge weight taken off of my shoulders.
Real customers, real savings. To see how much you can save, visit spectrum.com/save.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. Two milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable.
The sad reality is fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kitchen now.
My father was a New York City firefighter. My mission, like his, is to serve New Yorkers in a city that doesn't stop when the sun goes down. Being with New York One since the beginning, I'm now honored to join you even earlier each weeknight. Starting at 8 with New York Tonight, we'll explore the latest news developments, followed by New York One at 10 to wrap up your day. So join me each weeknight starting at 8 right here on New York One.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall, where we are turning back to the Mamdani administration's response to the cold weather. Mayor Mamdani says that 16 New Yorkers have died amid the frigid temperatures and that 13 of those deaths are suspected cases of hypothermia. Joining me now to talk about that and much more are the members of this week's Consultants Corner. We have two Democratic consultants this week, Trip Yang and Amit Singh Baga. Thank you both for being here. Good to see you. When I see all of this political discussion, and the former mayor, Eric Adams, weighing in on social media, and everybody's attacking the current administration over not breaking up encampments, I don't make a straight line connection between encampments and people dying in the cold, right? I mean, in 2023, under the Adams administration, which was breaking up encampments, 29 people died. I mean, you know, is this a real discussion, or is this something else?
Well, Errol, we are on a political show, so everything is political, I'm sure you'd venture to say. But let's talk about the facts of what's actually happened during the snowstorm, which is the largest storm that we've seen in 15 years, followed by some of the coldest weather we've had in our history. We've actually taken, the Mamdani administration's taken 930 New Yorkers off of the streets and put them into shelters. That's a remarkable number, right? And we have to remember, thanks to our current corporation counsel, Steve Banks, we are actually one of only 3 jurisdictions across the country that has a mandated right to shelter, right? So I think what we are seeing is that overall, this has been a tremendously positive response to the snowstorm. More than 122 million pounds of snow were removed from the streets, 44,000 sidewalks were cleared. And of course, look, every single death that happens in this way is a tragedy. But it seems pretty clear to me that the Mamdani administration has done a great job in galvanizing public sector workers.
A separate question, which is this $12 billion deficit that Mayor Mamdani held a press conference to announce. Now, it might have been the worst kept secret in New York government, right? The state controller announced it in August that there was going to be a $17 billion 3-year deficit. The Independent Budget Office came in a couple of months later, said the same thing. The city controller on his way out the door on December 16th put out a report saying that there was going to be a $10 billion deficit. We knew that this was coming. Talk politically, I guess, about how the mayor is intending to use this fact that kind of everybody knew was going to happen.
So in this case, it's very striking that the mayor and the comptroller, two people who are not viewed as ideological soulmates here, Mamdani and Levine, have both agreed on the $12 billion number, right? Now, in reality, a lot of it is on the previous administration, and maybe there, in some cases, could have been more pushback in the previous council as well. What we need to do here is how do we fill this type of stopgap, right? I do give Mayor Mamdani a lot of credit because of his relationship with President Trump. We have not seen federal agents in the streets of New York City, and there doesn't seem to be an imminent threat of lack of federal funding that we know of so far, right? So between the city, state, and the federal level, we need to make sure that we overcome this type of deficit.
Well, he's at least that's what he told me when I spoke to him last week. The mayor is to go to Albany and sort of, you know, ask for a tax increase plus a lot of extra money. The tax increase, though, seems like it's dead on arrival. I mean, the Governor Hochul has said no a million different ways. She said not yet, probably not. We're not going to increase taxes for increase's sake, and on and on and on, right? I mean, what's going on here?
Well, look, Errol, you've been covering Albany for a very long time. You know that what mayors or state legislative leaders or the governor says at the beginning of the legislative session may be something very different than what happens by the end. The longest 4 months in New York politics are between January and April every single year in a very cold city. So we'll see. You know, I think what we saw with Mayor Mamdani is that he pulled off an incredible upset. Obviously, there were many different inputs that went into the success of his campaign, but one of them was organizing. And we'll see the extent to which the DSA or the WFP and others are able to organize New Yorkers to really push the legislature and the governor on this topic. I don't know the answer to that question yet, but I will say taxing the rich is popular. And we do have to remember that just when it comes to at least SNAP and Medicaid, we are facing some federal budget cuts. And so the notion that New York needs to step up and do its job, I think is something that's going to gain traction with voters.
Yeah. Let me just add here is that Mamdani, he campaigned on this platform of taxing the wealthy, right? So many times, think about how many times political leaders, they get into office and they flip-flop. Well, you're not seeing it. He's being authentic. His supporters, his base, the activists, they want him to push the state legislature and the governor to raise tax on the wealthy. It doesn't mean you have an antagonistic relationship between the governor and the mayor. We've seen so far, Hochul and Mamdani have a much, much better relationship than Cuomo and de Blasio, although I know it's a low bar.
Yeah, de Blasio tried for, every year for 8 years, and I don't think got very far with it. Let's take a short break. I've got more to talk about with these consultants. We'll do that in 2 minutes. Stay with us.
We have so many ways to stay connected. A single touch can bring us closer to the families we love, the friends we know, and the city we share. And Spectrum helps us keep connected throughout the day, every day. Including more ways to watch New York One as a Spectrum Internet customer. Watch Spectrum News New York One on the Spectrum News app, available on all your favorite devices.
There's an international travel plan with Spectrum that was an additional $10 a month, as opposed to paying a ridiculous amount per day for roaming fees. This literally felt like my old phone carrier was reaching their hand into my wallet and just helping themselves to some of my cash. I like having no surprises when it comes to my cell phone bill. And with Spectrum, that's been the case. So it saved me a ton of money.
Real customers, real savings. To see how much you can save, visit spectrum.com/save.
Every day tells a new story. At Mornings on One, we're dedicated to bringing you the stories that matter most to start your day, with in-depth coverage of the day's news.
I'm Pat Kernan. Here are the stories we're following.
And weather updates every 10 minutes.
Tomorrow, some morning sunshine possible. Clouds take over.
It's our responsibility to get you the information you need before you head out the door. Mornings on One. Weekdays starting at 6 on the Spectrum News app. Free for Spectrum and
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall, where I am once again joined by my consultants corner. We have two Democratic consultants this week, Trip Yang and Amit Singh Baga. Let's talk about this Julie Wan candidacy that we had announced on the show a little while ago. What are her chances? What she's trying to do? What's the path to victory for her?
So this is a great example why Queens really much is the center of the world. Us in politics, we often say, and in the hip-hop community, often saying Queens get the money, because it's very much true. Everyone's eyes are on Queens. It is the center of so much demographic growth, as well as contested primaries. So look, right here in this race is probably the most progressive congressional district in the entire country. Voted for Mamdani over Cuomo in the primary by almost 50 points. Now, anyone can jump into the race. If you're a council member, you don't lose your council seat running in an even congressional year. So Julie Wan has all the incentive to run. I will say this, though. Probably the best candidacies, they got started in November when Congressmember Nydia Velázquez announced her retirement. I am not a political odds maker. In my day job, I run a political strategy firm. But if I were to be an odds maker, I would handicap this as Reynoso 50%, Claire Valdez 40%, and the field is probably 10%.
Well, look, as Tripp said, Queens is the center of the universe right now. Arguably, New York 7 is one of the most progressive districts in the country. And you have two very formidable candidates. Antonio Reynoso has a very deep history in the district. Brooklyn does comprise a little bit more of the district than does Queens, but obviously Claire Valdez, with Mayor Mamdani's backing, with the backing of the DSA, is putting on a really strong show. So it's an open question as to what type of inroads Julie Wan can make. What I will say is that Long Island City which has been one of the fastest growing parts of not just New York City, but in the entire country, has a very heavily East Asian population. And a lot of the growth in Long Island City has been in that demographic. And so if I had to guess, if Julie Wan is able to raise the money and run a campaign, she's probably taking some votes from Claire Valdez in that part of the district, which is important because Claire really represents Queens. And so this is a fight, I think, right on Claire's doorstep.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to think about it, right? You have two Queens candidates. That might be to the advantage of Antonio Reynoso. You have two women candidates. That, too, might be to his advantage. On the other hand, you have somebody who's not necessarily identified with the DSA or with progressive politics, Julie Wan, who beat a DSA candidate to win that council seat.
Well, I would say I don't think Wan's opponent in 2023 was formally endorsed by DSA. And this is more of like probably a fine-tooth comb in terms of insider politics. This is the rare race where you have a traditional progressive oftentimes associated with Working Families Party, in this case Reynoso. And I would say Wan is part of that cohort as well, since she was elected with WFP in her 2023 re-election, that is, versus Claire Valdez, who's very explicitly endorsed by DSA. Most primaries in this town, as we know, are usually between a generational fight or a quote-unquote moderate versus a quote-unquote progressive. They're all progressives. It's really how left are you in this race? Very rare.
Right, okay, very interesting. Finally, I guess in our last minute and a half, Hakeem Jeffries and Senator Chuck Schumer are both pushing for ICE to sort of dial back some of their aggressive tactics at the risk of, or indeed triggering, a government shutdown. Is that enough to appease the Democratic base? They've been getting a lot of pressure to do more, fight back more, push harder back against the Trump administration.
Look, I think we have seen time and again that the Democratic base is becoming increasingly frustrated with Democratic leadership in Washington. It is abundantly clear that New Yorkers do not want ICE in their streets. They do not want ICE anywhere near New York City. What we've seen play out in Minnesota is really just a fraction of what could possibly play out in New York. Let's not forget that Minneapolis is about the same size as Staten Island. So if you are thinking about what the Trump administration could possibly do with the resources ICE already has, even before we're talking about this current budget, it's potentially a lot of pain that they could inflict in New York. Now, the likelihood that happens, I'm not saying it's super high. New York is a very complicated place. It's also President Trump's hometown. But I think the Democratic base is very clear on this topic, which is that they want ICE out of the streets.
Yeah, look, right now, if you look at the last shutdown a couple months ago, House Democrats banded together and really coalesced, unless there was a vote on the ACA healthcare subsidies. Over time, the polling from the last shutdown a couple months ago, Americans increasingly blame Donald Trump. It was viewed more and more as a Trump shutdown. So politically, you get rewarded if you're fighting for a noble pursuit or values. In that case, healthcare. In this case, right now, Donald Trump's ICE, they're killing Americans in broad daylight. So you don't want to take for granted, federal workers. You want to have some consideration of that, but you also want to stand on your values.
Okay. Thank you both very much. Great talking with you. Thank you for the analysis. That is going to do it for tonight's show. Thanks so much for watching and have a great evening. We'll see you next time inside City Hall.
And that's a look at some of what's in the papers this morning.
You've done with the sports section.
Today's story is about the latest chapter for a beloved local business.
It's a beautiful day with temperatures in the 60s, but showers are expected in the next hour.
In a city that's always on the go, it's important to stop to hear the stories that connect us.
The news that matters to New Yorkers. That's what brings us together. That's Mornings on One.
Weekdays starting at 6.
You might think Spectrum is just for your home, but Spectrum is seamless connectivity everywhere. It's the network making the other networks sweat. Connectivity from an actual internet company, because internet is what you actually use your phone for. It's way more than 5G. With Spectrum One, it's 5G and fiber-powered internet, seamlessly combined for the fastest wireless speeds. Ask this guy. He's one of millions who already know. Oh yeah, and this guy too. Turns out people like their mobile from a seamless connectivity company. That's why Spectrum is the country's fastest growing mobile provider. Spectrum One. It's only the seamless connection you love at home, everywhere you go. It's only everything.
There's nothing quite like the feeling of going to the theater. Onstage celebrates that excitement every week by taking you behind the scenes with the latest news and in-depth interviews of the hottest shows on and off Broadway. So grab a seat, because this is a show you won't